I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August 12th, 2014. It looks like it's about 7:01. We have a village board meeting followed by a committee of the whole meeting. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sherby, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Calcagno.
Present.
Trustee Gattuso is absent. Trustee Perry is absent. Trustee Rita.
Present.
Trustee Stecker.
Present.
Trustee Yocevich.
Present.
President Booyer.
Present. We do have a quorum this evening. First item is a proclamation. I've been requested by the people at Triton College to recognize the 50th anniversary of Triton College by issuing a proclamation. So here it goes. Triton College celebrates 50 years of excellence in education. It's been 50 years since the referendum was passed to create a community college district that would come to be known as Triton College. Beginning as an idea by 3 superintendents from area high schools, Triton College was created to serve as an opportunity for individuals to enrich their lives through affordable, accessible higher education, a task the institution has proudly provided for 50 years. With students' education in mind, Triton College has continued to advance and evolve to reflect the changing times and to better serve its students. The institution is constantly updating and restructuring its academic programs, implementing new initiatives, renovating its facilities to be conducive to students' education, and bringing in faculty and administration who are dedicated to helping students achieve their goals. This commitment to student success has contributed to the River Grove institution graduating approximately 45,000 students with a degree or certificate since Triton's first graduating class in 1967. As the college prepares to celebrate its 50th anniversary, kicking off with a cake-cutting ceremony on August 28th, the Triton College community invites community members to be engaged and inspired by Triton's humble beginnings and take part in the year-long celebration that looks forward to providing yet another 50 years of student success. A history of success. Superintendents of Proviso, Cook County, I guess, CC is, Elmwood Park and Leiden, with the support of the community, pioneered the efforts of developing a junior college in the district on March 31st, 1964, when a referendum was passed. The same year, the first Board of Trustees was formed and the college's first president was appointed. While building plans for the campus were in its infancy in 1965, the first classes were held off campus at West Leiden, Proviso, and Elmwood Park High Schools. About 1,200 community residents signed up for classes, more than a projected 300 to 400 students. It would also be the year the school received its official name, selected in reference to the 3 towns in which the school's 3 founding members came from. When it came to the appropriate site for the college, locations on several golf courses, a 100-acre tract near Cermak Road in the Tri-State, and even lands by Hines VA Hospital were considered. But the land at 5th Avenue and Palmer in River Grove, the site of the farmhouse, 2 trailer camps, a fireworks manufacturer, and a marshy landfill in 1964 showed promise, being near the Des Plaines River and the forest preserves. Building plans commenced in 1965 as board members expressed their vision on how the campus should look and be perceived by community members. In a special ceremony on June 4th, 1967, the first ground was broken for the campus site. By 1968, enrollment had grown to more than 4,600 students, with the college offering 27 transfer curricula and 27 occupational programs. Triton College excelled in its academic and athletic programs, introducing one-of-a-kind degree programs and winning national championships. In 1973, Triton's growth and innovation was recognized by the national publication of Time magazine that referred to Triton as a new type of college that it is redefining the concept for Americans. The public community college. The citizens of District 504 get a college that is everything they never thought a college could be: affordable, accessible, and extraordinary response to specific needs. Responding to the needs of Triton students and community members of the surrounding district has been and remains an ongoing endeavor by the college. Triton continues to develop new opportunities to connect with the area businesses and organizations and the college's K through 12 and university partners within the community. The college also hosts on-campus events to cultivate new partnerships as well as strengthen the existing ones. A vision for the future. Triton College prides itself on being a community college and serving a diverse atmosphere of students who are seeking a better future. From single, working parents to the student fresh out of high school with aspirations to transfer to a four-year university, to lifelong learners looking to take courses for self-enrichment. Though times continue to change, one thing that remains constant is Triton College's unfaltering commitment to the opportunity for anyone to pursue a higher education. Triton College is a mainstay in the community as the cutting-edge provider of higher education. So, as of today, August 12th, 2014, this proclamation will be in effect, and I know we've put something in our newsletter, and we'll continue to do as well, and hopefully you can make the event on August 28th, and I'll send out more information as I get it from the college. Actually, I know Chief Carpino and myself are alumni of Triton College, and there may be others as well. Sean as well, and maybe others in this room, and I'm certain in this village. So they've done a great job, and I'm sure they'll continue to do a great job in the future for the next 50 years. Any comments? If not, public comments and questions. If anyone has a comment or question to the board, I think we have one young lady out there.
He answered it, thank
He answered it. Okay. Let me think. Street lights.
you.
Frisbee golf. Oh, okay. My ESP is not working, just like other things. Okay, item number 6, public hearings.
There are none.
None, okay. Consent agenda. Let's see, we have item A's, approval of record of bills, 8/7/2014, not to exceed $932,856.89. Sherby has asked that item I, under BI, be pulled. Those are the executive sessions of July 22nd. We have the minutes of July 22nd, the board. Minutes of the 22nd Committee of the Whole. Approval of department reports, Community Development Department, Fire, Police, Public Works. And D, E, and F, resolution approving change order for Portsmouth Avenue sanitary sewer replacement. And Janet, the numbers on that? I think we got to put the numbers in.
Okay.
I know Mike did last time.
Yes, let me get up
See,
here.
saving you some talking, girl.
Robert, do you have any of that change order?
I think it was in the packet, wasn't it?
Okay, change order number 2.
Page 33.
Okay, thank you.
It's the number, Melissa.
The
Ah,
dollar
54.
amount?
Yeah, I think Mike went.
$9,400.
Okay, $9,400. I know we talked about this last time. This was the adding 2 replacement sewers and taking out the brick ones that were ready to collapse and replace them with the conical ones, which will help our I&I. Resolution approving change order number 2 for the paving component, 2014 street program, in the amount of
$7,920.
$7,920. And that is for asphalt. Robert?
The paving component.
Drainage structures?
Is that for the street improvement as well?
Yes,
It's for
the
maintenance.
paving component of the
Okay.
2014 street improvement.
Okay, for paving components. And we have the ordinance waiving the requirements of the Village of Westchester Purchasing Policies and Procedures Manual and ratifying the purchase and installation of surge suppression devices from Mead Electric Company. I know we talked about this last time in an emergent fashion to get the lights back up. So, does anyone want anything pulled? If not, with the exception of I.
Sam, I would just like to mention that that surge suppression amount was $10,985.60.
$10,985.60. So let's put all those numbers in the agenda in the minutes to reflect, so we comply with all the rules. All right. Other than item BI, does anyone else need anything pulled? If not, if there's a motion, a second to approve, all the rest.
Motion.
Celeste.
Second.
Nikki. Okay, if there's no other discussion on that, Sherby, please call the roll.
Trustee Rita?
Aye.
Trustee Stecker?
Aye.
Trustee Yorkovich?
Aye.
Trustee Calhoun?
Aye.
President Corrigan?
Aye, motion carries. Item number 8, active agenda, resolution authorizing the execution of an indemnification and hold harmless agreement between Regency Centers LP, Regency Centers Corporation, and the Village of Westchester. Okay, discussion. I will start this out. I looked at the agreement today, and it apparently, unless there's been another one floating around, does not satisfy what was discussed at a meeting that we had with Mariano's people, all the building people, and Matt Hendy in there. So I've asked Janet to contact them and see what's up. In our conversation, in our meeting, we were supposed to get a water main. We were supposed to get a new sanitary sewer, and because the storm sewer was so close to the sanitary in there that they were going to not be able to replace it, but they were gonna indemnify it from A to B. If you see the little map in there, there are W1, W2, S2 to S3, D3, and D6. Our original agreement did not have that in there. Secondly, if you looked at Matt Hendy's agreement, it didn't have it in there as well. So, apparently there was a correction here, but I guess my question is, why am I catching it? When everybody else was looking at it, and I'm catching it at the 9th hour, and if I hadn't caught it, we'd be talking about it today. Because I will tell you right now, I was prepared to table this and stop all construction activities at Mariano's until I got this corrected. So, somebody should be held accountable for this. So, if you agree with me, great. If you don't, I don't care. So, as I look at this new updated agreement, it appears that 167 linear feet of public storm has been added. Has Matt Hendy's been added or changed as well? Or is someone trying to pull a fast one on us?
The document has been provided to Regency. The original language in the agreement did have sanitary and, or water and storm, Melissa?
The one that's in the packet just has sanitary and water, but the revised agreement that's before you tonight has all three.
And
That's my question. Why was an improper document, resolution, put in our packet when we all talked about this in a meeting, which everybody was there, and we got a defective agreement? And had I not caught it, we would have been talking about a defective agreement and possibly would have signed off on it, which would have put us behind the 8 ball. If somebody can answer that, I'll do the Irish jig. So, Melissa, have you reviewed this new agreement?
I just got it tonight, but yes, I have.
Okay, and you're finding this in proper order, that covers everything that we're supposed to be covered with?
Yes, this new agreement, I believe, adds the storm sewer line and includes also the water main, the 235 linear feet, the sanitary sewer line, and the storm sewer line, which I believe were the 3 components that were required.
Okay. Now, in Mr. Hendy's agreement, we're sending this back to him. Did we have any conversation with him today relative to his agreement that was in error? Does he know, or are we gonna sign off on this and then give it to him, and then what?
He was provided a copy this afternoon, and the exhibit that they provided showed all three.
Yeah, the
utilities.
little map that you had to squint to see, yeah, I got that. But the document means nothing when it's written in paper. The paper rules. That doesn't rule. So. So what was his conversation? Was there anything? Did he say he made a mistake? Did he say he's gonna give a new document? Did he say he's gonna look at it?
It was us that drafted.
Because right now, if I don't sign it, Mariano's is shut down till tomorrow, till whenever this document in 2 weeks, because I am not having a special meeting for them. Regency Partners has been torturing the village of Westchester ever since we got involved in this. So you need to tell him in the most strongest of terms that whatever in the contract is in the contract. I'm not changing one blade of grass, not one tree limb, not one potted plant from what the Plan Commission decided and what this board decided. And if he has a problem with that, I suggest they sell their interests in Regency to somebody who will comply. So, again, are we getting something new that says storm instead of sanitary here?
It was
Yeah.
redrafted and provided to Regency.
Okay.
The village and our.
We'll vote on our agreement this evening, because I don't want to hold anything up, to be quite honest with you. But this agreement does not get tendered to them until the proper agreement from them gets here to our attorneys to make sure that A matches up with A.
There's only the one agreement.
No, but I'm saying he provided language. Did he not?
No, we provided,
We
we drafted
provided
the
the
language,
language.
and we gave it to them.
We provided this?
Yeah.
I was under the impression that, so in other words, we screwed up. Instead of him screwing up. Okay. All right.
Mayor, are we awaiting a signed agreement then from Regency prior?
I think we've been waiting this signed agreement for the last couple of months, that I think Mike made representation at the last meeting, that we shouldn't let them do diddly until we had that agreement in hand. And the board said, you know what, we trust them, we'll get the agreement, blah, 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 blah. 2 weeks later, and we're still in the same boat. Correct?
The prior agreement that was on the last board agenda was executed by Regency, but because we had the meeting to discuss the issues with the storm and sanitary sewers, and this agreement needed to be revised. So I do have an executed agreement from them, but it only covers the water main.
Well, we need a total signed agreement that covers all three, correct?
Right.
And that's
why-
what this is,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Mayor, what if the board determines to move forward with this and take a vote on this, you have an option to hold off on signing the resolution until you get the signed agreement from Regency.
Okay.
And then, if you do not sign the resolution by the next board meeting, the resolution can be vetoed. So if you want to hold off on
Okay.
that until you get the Regency signed agreement, you can, and the board can still consider and vote on this.
I get it. Okay, that sounds like a plan. All right, is there a motion and a second for this approval?
So moved. Second.
Nick, Tommy, roll call.
Trustee Stecker,
Aye.
trustee Yorkovich,
Aye.
trustee Calcagnon,
Aye.
president Polio.
Aye, motion carries. Managers report.
Jada?
You skipped.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Oh, now, managers report.
Okay, I just have one thing to mention, well, actually two things. Late this afternoon, I did receive a response to an inquiry I had made to, regarding our ComEd, transition back to ComEd through our municipal aggregation program. And I was informed that First Energy did not issue the drop letters to our residents that they were scheduled to do. So being that we're in mid-August, they now have to do those letters, and I'm awaiting information on what rate they will charge our residents for the month of August. We are expected to be put back onto ComEd by now, but since they have not sent the drop letters, there will be some sort of adjusted rate provided to the residents. The current ComEd rate is 7.0 cents per kilowatt hour, and we anticipate something near that level.
Did anyone from First Energy explain why the letters did not go out?
No, they did not. I actually dealt with our consultant, David Hoover.
Did any other municipalities that had First Energy, which I understand there was quite a few, get any drop letters?
I have not asked that question. I did let him know that it was my belief that if they had not failed to issue the drop letters, then they should hold their contract rates for the month of August. He did not feel we would be successful with that, but thought that we would have some type of adjustment below the ComEd rate. And again, this was information I received at about 4:30 this afternoon.
Well, my first blush would be to agree with you 100% that they should, until the drop letters are there, they need to pony up on the rate that they had. They know what the rules are, they know what they have to do, and they know what they should have sent out.
Right.
So if they're trying to save postage or letter or figuring what the heck, they're not getting the contract, next time. I guess what, too bad, too sad for us? I don't
Jim,
think so.
Do we have anything documenting that they were supposed to send letters out?
So we had actually published in the last newsletter a sample drop letter that we had been provided with that said it would be sent to our residents in late July.
So they committed to sending something,
Yes.
just never did it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree, they gotta hold to those rates,
Right.
Right,
that's
so,
what I-
so we'll be following up on that, and any updates, we will put a little blurb on the website for the residents' edification of where we're at with the transitioning back to ComEd. Gonna let Greg talk about special events, but just wanted to let everybody know that unfortunately, due to the ground conditions, we had to cancel our movie of Grease related to National Night Out. We had a voting contest on our website and newsletter for residents to vote what movie they wanted to see, and they had chosen Grease. We were gonna have a costume contest. So did want to let everybody know that we will proceed with that, with their wishes, but probably at our first movie next spring. So that's all I have for this evening.
Miss Melissa, you're up.
I have no report, Mayor. Thank
You have to have a report.
Oh.
You have to have a report. You have to tell us the good news
Well,
out of your own mouth.
not village business, but I'm engaged. Wedding date, November 14th. It's a Friday, so I'm hoping there's no village meeting here.
No.
Well,
'Cause
we
I
might
wouldn't
have a
wanna miss
special.
one.
Might have to
Melissa,
make a
you
special.
said November 14th?
Yes.
That's my birthday.
Aw.
What a good day.
That's my brother's wedding anniversary.
It's, I'm
Sounds like
happy.
you picked a
Sounds
good
like
day.
a good day.
So, congratulations. You know when you come here, you have to be embarrassed.
Yes,
So
thank
it's
you.
it's a rule. So,
Thank
But
you.
congratulations.
But that's
to
my
you
only
as well.
report.
Thank you. Okay, board members, Nikki, anything? You had EST?
Yeah, we had a meeting this afternoon. It was just kind of got us up to date on some some stuff that's going through the Illinois Commerce Commission. We just got updated with that. That's pretty much it, though. That's all that's going on. I think the police apps are out, and then lieutenant's exam is coming up. They set the date, I believe,
For lieutenant's exam.
for the fire.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I think police apps are coming out now. So that's pretty much it.
Celestine?
Nothing this evening. I had a delay in meeting with some furniture people for the boardroom, so we'll have something for the next meeting.
I was gonna say, these new ones look about like the old ones. Yeah.
Angela?
We had the electronic recycling event this weekend, went well, the weather was a little bit better this month. A lot of volunteers this month came out. Unfortunately, the Environmental Commission was not able to meet this past week, due to the fact that we didn't have enough members show up for a quorum, so that was it.
Thank you. Thomas?
I have nothing to report.
Chief Carpino?
Few things. A few days ago, I got a call from our grant writer informing me that we've been approved from the Federal Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program. The money's available through 2016. We've been approved for 30 bulletproof vests. Next year is when we have to replace all the vests for all the sworn officers at a cost of about $600 a vest. So we're looking at $18,000. We've been guaranteed already $9,000 through a grant. It's quite possible the state of Illinois may have some money to help out with the remaining balance. If they don't, they're not required to fund it, but I will include it in our budget for 15-16. So half of the cost is already being absorbed by the federal government. So that was good news. As you know, a few nights ago, I sent out an email, as I do quite often throughout the day, if there's something going on of any importance. During the midnight shift, one of our officers spotted a suspicious occupied motor vehicle on the east side of town. As it turned out, the individual was in possession of a walkie-talkie radio, and he heard some conversation going on. And the next thing, he stayed in the area, called out for some assistance from additional towns, notably Broadview's right on our border there. And it turns out there was a burglary in progress in Broadview, and he was able to determine they were actually responsible for a burglary in Westchester a few nights before, where they went into a vacant building and took all the copper out of the building. So it was a good arrest this Friday. There's a pre-trial already for the Broadview case. So we're able to solve a few burglaries by the alert officer who spotted this individual sitting in a car. The same shift, as you know, a couple weeks ago, apprehended 5 individuals on the north side of town. They were responsible for breaking into cars, actually broken into a residence, 5 different individuals from these 3. We solved several car burglaries and residential burglaries as a result of their actions on midnights when a neighbor had called in the suspicious people. And just a few months ago, on the east side of town, as you know, we had cleared up 2 residential burglaries after we followed up on some fingerprints that were left at the crime scene. So basically, in a nutshell, in the last 2 months, through the efforts of the officers and citizens getting involved, calling the police, we've been able to apprehend 10 individuals who were out running around, breaking into cars and houses and businesses.
It's awesome.
I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's great.
It's, besides the other work that they do, it's quite significant. It's just, it's a good thing. So our crime has been reduced as a result of these people being taken off the streets.
All the officers did a wonderful job with that.
Oh, without a doubt. It's good police work.
Question I have, as far as our vacant building, I understand the state's attorney's office wouldn't approve burglary charges in that regard?
Correct.
Is there any-
The offender brought us back to the scene where he committed the burglary, but in Illinois, you don't have to be a witness against yourself. We had no other compelling evidence, like fingerprints, physical evidence, no cameras, no eyewitnesses, and the evidence, which is the copper, was already gone and disposed of somewhere in the city. So with the fact that we only had the mere confession of the one suspect, it wasn't enough to charge him because, as I said, he won't have to be a witness against himself. So we were able to clear the Broadview case, and as a result, now we will be testifying Friday at the pretrial for the Broadview burglary. We were able to clear our case. We couldn't charge anybody, which is understandable given the facts. And if we went in before a jury or a judge and said, "Oh, how do you know this person committed the burglary?" Because he said so. Unfortunately, the timing was off. It was like a few days after our burglary. So we know they were responsible for it, but as you know, being a former police officer, sometimes the law doesn't always go on your side. But we were able to solve another burglary as a result for another town, so, which is a good thing. We were able to charge them with possession of burglary tools on our end, which is just a misdemeanor charge.
Well, I guess I would argue that point with the state's attorney's office
Yeah.
more vehemently.
Well, I know there was.
As far as if somebody comes in and confesses to something, and you have no physical evidence, no body, no nothing, he's not gonna be charged. You know, it's a felony, which I would imagine probably in other counties, there would have been a charge. But because it's Cook County, there's not. run into that a million times in my career, and you have as well.
Yeah, to
running
be
into
honest
it
with you,
now.
being from DuPage County, a large part of my career, our state's attorney's office would have given us the same argument that you don't have to be a witness against yourself, and the confession's not gonna be enough to go to trial with, because when you get to trial, you don't have to testify, so you're gonna present the case based on nothing. So,
Okay.
it was a good arrest in any event.
Yeah.
Great
Oh,
arrest.
no.
Sometimes
Brandon?
you win, sometimes you lose. We got him off the streets. A few weeks ago, I came to the board and asked if I could create the position of a police services coordinator. You agreed. I advertised for the job. On the blue line, we had 28 applicants submit their resumes and cover letter and references. Out of the 28, there was 12 people who were not even qualified. Of the 16, I sat down with Lieutenant O'Hagan, got it down to 3 individuals we thought were capable individuals, brought them in for an interview. I even shared my findings with another person in the law enforcement arena, as you know, Chief McCullum, very well-respected person who I do searches with for other municipalities for police chief. And he agreed that those 3 candidates were the ones out of the pack of the 18 that would be significant candidates. We interviewed the significant candidates. After interviewing these 3 people, myself and the lieutenant decided to bring one individual back for a second interview, which I had the village manager attend the second interview with this individual. And after meeting with one of the 3 candidates for a second time, it was decided that this person would be offered a position based on the successful outcome of a background check. He was here being fingerprinted today. Drug and alcohol test, which was performed already, came back successful. He's found to be not positive for anything. So with that being said, on the 25th of this month, we'll be seeing the new candidate, Frank Esposito, who's a 30-year veteran of law enforcement, former police sergeant with the village of Stone Park, where he retired from within the last year. He's a former police chief from Morton College, holds a master's degree in public safety, public administration. His master's is in public administration from DePaul, and a bachelor's degree from DePaul as well. And thousands of hours of training, certified in many areas. So we're going to use his credentials in a different capacity than what we normally would use someone who's going to oversee photo enforcement and records. We might be able to help. He might be able to help us out with training, and with our emergency services operation, we told him to be flexible with his hours, because at times he might help out. And, we might have him be the liaison for the police department to emergency services. So I think we're going to get a good bang for our buck with the salary that we're paying this person, the money that we're saving, not paying a lieutenant to perform those duties. So I think we'll be well served by bringing this person on to the police department. I've already received some positive comments from, I put an email out to all the personnel, this person's coming on board, and within the last hour, a sergeant called and said he's familiar with them, he worked a homicide case with them in the past. A few other officers that were in the building today when he was here recognized him from former training events, so I think he's going to be a good fit. Like any outsider like myself coming into an agency like this, it's hard, so we have to be accepted and make the best of what we can. So.
Well, we all wish him well, and hopefully everything will, which I don't have any doubt, will come through with flying colors.
And I'll be bringing him to the next board meeting. It'll be here on, starts on the 25th, so I'll have him here on the 26th. For everyone
Great.
to meet him.
Thanks, John. Maureen?
As I'm sure you're all aware, we recently had our auditors out here. They concluded their field work at the end of last week. They're waiting on still some third-party agency staff to finish up their reports before we receive anything. So far, everything's coming back positive. I have to applaud my staff. Everyone was very responsive in getting things to the auditors timely and efficiently. So far, everything's looking good. I do have one item that I will be discussing further during the COW. And then also, I already began the first quarter financials, and we'll have them presented at the next board meeting.
Great, thank you. And I know Janet and you were in the village on a number of off hours and weekends, putting all this together. When I spoke to the auditors here, they indicated that it was very positive for all the information that put together. Hopefully, it won't be as hard next year with you being a newcomer and trying to get your feet wet in this type of governmental accounting piece, or audit piece, which you have, you have college experience doing that, so there is a transition. So hopefully next year, you could get out on time. So,
I already am working on putting things in place and having
Great.
those financials ready.
well, you both did a great job putting that all together, and I'm sure it's gonna be reflected in our audit report.
Thank you.
Gregory?
Just a few things. The DEA has advised me they are continuing the program with the drug take-back. There will be a take-back day of September 27th. I just
September,
received-
Greg?
Yes, correct. I just received the email and had to register. In fact, came from somebody else, so I didn't recognize it at first, but they did say that they were going to continue that program. I want to commend the people. After last time, had to put up a no needle sign because of the issues we had with that, but so far the public's been very good with that. I haven't had any needles come through since I put the sign up, so thank you very much. That's saved a lot of headaches, scares, I don't know, just it's not good. But I do appreciate the people just placing the pills in there the way they do. In regards to the ETSB meeting we had, not to bore Nick again on the entire process of that, but the Illinois Commerce Commission has provided ETSBs throughout the state with information that the General Assembly has requested. And I'll be brief with it, and you can always, of course, ask more questions at any time. But the General Assembly is trying to determine how to structure a rate with regards to wireless cell phones. Currently, that rate is 75 cents. Cell phone industry is requesting a removal of those fees. The state ETSB boards collectively are requesting more money. Just as being pulled from both sides, the General Assembly has requested that the Illinois Commerce Commission, who regulates 911, come out with some information and have the ETSBs and 911 centers, whether they have an ETSB or not, report to them with regards to the costs involved, with regards to the current equipment status of each center, with the life expectancy of any of the equipment, with any of the future purchases requested. So there's a lot of information that they're going to field, put together. They're requesting that information be compiled and submitted by October of this year. And after looking at it, I did first review it and then was part of a conference call and was advised with regards to putting all this information together in a spreadsheet. I was originally going to have to sit down with Maureen probably and go over all our numbers, determine how each number fits into their request, and was told that because we have an outside audit, we will be able to submit those audits. They are requesting the last 2 budget years, and Maureen has, I don't want to say assured me, but is pretty confident that the audit will be complete and in form for me to submit for the 2013-2014 budget requirement or request of the Illinois Commerce Commission. So as long as we're returning in audits, they said that's a much better solution than us trying to recreate and put in information that may be different than we have it in the structure we have it, I should say. So that information will be sent in the hopes, in our meeting earlier today, it was discussed that we, as an ETSB, should probably be proactive with other members of the National Emergency Number Association, Illinois APCO, which is a governmental entity, or I should say an entity that works to receive more funding at the level of the state and national level for 911 centers. So hopefully this data will work in conjunction with us speaking out to bring more money into the 911 fund to defray the costs that we do expend. Even though we don't have a 911 center in-house, we still have equipment here, we still have the cost of running the center as a whole. So that's where those funds are, what those funds are necessary for. And again, if anybody has any questions on that, it is more or less just an information piece, just that will be coming out. Additionally, with regards to special events, this Saturday, we're going to be having the Music and Fireworks Festival at High Ridge Park, 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. We'll be in the field there, got a stage, got Chris Coletti starting at 3, 4:45, Ring Shout and Friends is the name of the band, 7:30 to 9, we have Heartache Tonight, and then the fireworks will begin shortly thereafter, expected between about 9:15 and 9:30. So please let people know. There'll be drinks served, as well as some light snacks for sale. Additionally, the Back to School event, which is currently scheduled Friday, September 5th. The park is generally running that operation, but have asked, because we were putting on a movie, they've asked us to change and put on the Lego movie. So we'll have the Lego movie for that event. Encourage all student-age children, as well as their families, to come out, enjoy the time out there at the community center. I believe that's all I have. And additionally, we did have our National Night Out. Did you talk about that, Chief? Okay, just briefly, we had our National Night Out on the 5th, on Tuesday. It was a very successful event. Again, briefly, because of the stormwaters, we had all of the vendors, about 20 or so vendors in the church parking lot at the community church. A large turnout. Had Chief Carpino do us a favor and get us some old-time cars for our car show out in the parking lot. Very well received. But Target was there handing out, or what I should say, raffling bicycles and scooters. So it was very well received, and thank everybody for coming out. Thank you.
Greg, as far as Saturday.
Yes.
Food vendors, we're encouraging people to bring their own food, so to speak.
Correct.
What will be available
Currently,
for purchase?
currently I call her the popcorn lady. Forgive me, I don't know her name.
Sugar Mamas.
Sugar Mamas, thank you. Sugar Mamas will be there, as well as Leslie's.
What is she selling in addition to popcorn, anything?
Popcorn, cotton candy, and hot dogs she
Thank you.
will have.
Okay, so
Yes.
there's gonna be something out there for
Yes.
purchase? Okay.
But again, lights, we're not looking, or I should say, when we did ask some of the other nonprofits, they were offered the opportunities. They were the first ones that we had reached out to. They weren't really receptive to coming out.
So that's pretty well lit, just those two?
And the firefighters will be
Yes.
selling lemon ice
Yes,
as a fundraiser.
correct.
And there'll be no alcoholic beverages except for what's purchased from the chambers?
That's correct. That's how we saw it, yes.
Okay.
And pop and water from the park.
Right. I got it. But they could bring their own pop and.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's gonna be wine and stuff, not?
No.
No?
No.
Oh.
Well, just the Mike Lemonade kind of
Mike's
thing
Hard.
in the
Beer.
kind of like we did at the other ones.
I thought I read that.
All right. Robert?
Update on our capital projects. The 2 million gallon tank at Enterprise Drive, we've drained that down, and the contractor's on site, so he's mobilized. And just want to remind everyone, we have a water ban in effect. That should be in effect until that tank is back in service. We're anticipating early November is when we have that back in service. So the tank is drained. We've opened our emergency connections to Broadview, so we have water supply, and we're running our pumps now on a continuous basis to supply water pressure. So we have volume and pressure. We'll shroud the tank, and then we'll begin removing the old paint in the next couple weeks. On our concrete program, we're finished with phase 1, and work has begun on phase 2. That's primarily along Portsmouth and on Oxford Street. So we're replacing curb and gutter and also driveway aprons with that. Following that will be the pavement reconstruction. The phase 1 is about 98% complete. What we have to do is put in a couple signs and pavement marking with that, and then they will begin phase 2 within about a week. So they'll be on Portsmouth and Oxford as well.
Are those the only two streets on the second half? Is Portsmouth
We've
and I?
we've got a couple more too. There's one on the northeast side.
So I said, it wasn't Suffolk in the game?
Yeah,
And,
it is.
yeah, that's something.
The
North side
1400 block.
Suffolk?
Yeah, by
Of Suffolk.
Gladstone or something.
Yeah, the north side, north of
Mhm.
Roosevelt.
Yeah,
Mhm.
from Roosevelt to Gladstone is also.
I think there's another street too, somewhere. that
Yeah,
we're
there's a
missing.
total of four, but the majority of the work will be on Oxford. That'll take most of the time.
Yeah.
And that's where they're concentrated now. As they begin those other streets, I'll let you know. It looks as, I had indicated 3 board meetings ago that we had an overrun and we brought a change order to you, some shortage of quantities. With the phase 2, we were anticipating a change order, a similar amount, but we were able to find some other areas that we did not have to spend additional money on. When we got on some of the roads, the base looked better, so we did not have that removed and save some money. So it looks like we would be, had estimated the potential between $75,000 to $100,000 change order for phase 2. I think we can safely say that would be half of that amount, and I'm hoping to reduce that even more. But we'll continue to be vigilant and watch those changes to try to keep those lower. The quantities look like they're in better alignment on this phase 2. So I anticipate less of a request for change order. As we move through that pavement reconstruction, when Central Blacktop comes back and occupies the site, we'll get a better idea of just where we are with those numbers. The Village Hall fire alarm, we are installing a new one. We had a pre-construction meeting on July 31st, and the winning proposal was from Simplex Grinnell. They're in the process of preparing drawings for the building, so we will have a record of what's being placed, and it'll bring our building into compliance for the fire requirements and having a working fire alarm system. As soon as the drawings are completed, what we're going to do is have our consulting engineer, the official village engineer, which is Chris Burke and Associates, they will review all those drawings and catalog the submittals that they have, so we know all the components and parts and pieces. So they will be in the process of approving those, and we expect that the installation will begin early next month. Wanted to let you know we've got a couple other projects in the planning phase that will be coming up for a December, January bid. Mayfair, which will have its phase 1, which is the dirt removal portion of the Mayfair Reservoir, that should be bid, I'm guessing next month. But the phase 2 will be under design, which is the conveyance, the new sewer portion, which will bring that sewer. So the reservoir will drain in a more positive manner out to Salt Creek. That design will begin in September, and we hope to have a December, January bid with that. We're 95% complete with those phase 1 plans, the dirt removal. We've received approval from the various agencies to do that. So we're very close to having a bid package out there on the street. That looks like a very positive project. Another 30 acre-feet of storage will be down there. We're also looking at the Mayfair pump station to look at other improvements we can make in the pump house and pump station to, with the new volumes, we need to retune the pumps. We will create a capital improvement program for the board to consider for funding for next year, and one of the components in there will be the pumps. There are some maintenance things that will need to be taken care of before that. We can pull out of the operating budget to make sure that our sump pumps work correctly out there. So there's some detail I'll put together for the board to review for other things we'd like to do at Mayfair to bring it up to standard, so it works more automatically, more efficiently, and provides more proactive stormwater management tool for us. The other project that we have currently in design is the Sunnyside Sanitary Sewer Replacement Project. At some point, we need to get these two projects together because They do cross each other when they get over to Sunnyside. Our outlet for the Phase 2 on Mayfair will have to cross the new planned sewer. I just had a conversation with both of them, and they're marginally aware that they're going to do that. And I need to get the engineers, the designers in the same room here in the next couple of weeks so they can exchange information and no snafus in the field. So we'll get that ironed out, and we'll have the two engineers together and discuss that. As we have more detail and more options, I can bring that to the board so we can discuss what those are going to look like and the routes and paths we have to take. But right now, they're in design. The Mayfair dirt is going to be bid soon. Last but not least, an update on the LED lighting. Our contractor has received the surge suppressors. This week, we'll be going out with them to look at the 20 control boxes and understand how they're going to go in, and each one's wired a little differently, so we will proof out how we want these installations done. And then later in the week, we will install all 20, followed next week by having GNP come out. I believe they're going to use Mead also and install the new drivers. I haven't got an actual date from them on when they're going to do it, but we should be done with our work this week, no later than Monday, Tuesday next week. So our surge suppressors will be in there and will be ready to allow the drivers to be installed by Wednesday next week.
I'm sure you received my commentary today regarding the surge suppression and that. We've never had 70 lights out at any one time in this village at all, ever. We've had a lot of lightning storms that have hit, probably as of severe as whatever. I'm no electrical engineer, and the only thing that's changed is the type of light. There's a ballast fluorescent bulb or whatever kind of screw-in bulb versus the LED. So with that being said, I've suggested to Robert certainly to get some prices, but I want at least 6 of those drivers sent to UL to see if it was a bad batch of drivers. Having 70 lights out in town for now 6 weeks since June 23rd when I reported them out is not conscionable. So, in the event that these drivers are found to be deficient, we will be contacting the attorney and going for some kind of action. I'll tell you that right now. But having 70 lights out for potentially now 2 months is not the right way to go, especially on the east side of town where you just heard the chief of police indicate a number of burglaries have occurred, even ones that we can't charge, that, maybe because it's dark is the way it's going. So I would put GNP on notice that this is it. I think Mead put them in the first time, so if you saw my email, I'm not so sure that they're the ones to test them, but get some prices on the testing, because it is possible that we got a bad batch of drivers, I guess. I don't know. Or, guess what? We're going to put all this surge suppression in, we're going to have a lightning strike again, and we'll have another 70 out, and then what? What dance are we going to do then?
I think what's really frustrating for us is that we're used to getting in the bucket truck, going out and fixing it right away. And we don't have the ability as an in-house crew to do that. And I know a lot of the residents are calling up expecting us to change the light bulb. And what I try to tell them is it's more complicated than that. One, we don't have the drivers. 2, it's not a light bulb that you screw in. And so there's a lot of detail that goes into why we just don't go right out and do it immediately. But as you know, we're taking proactive steps in the future to make sure that this won't happen again. Of course, lightning strikes, they do occur. Whether this was a lightning strike or a bad manufacturing process, we really don't know that. But we do know the drivers are out, and there's multiple ones ones of them, and it didn't all happen at once, it was progressive. So it's also baffling. I've talked to 3 other communities that have these type of lights, and they've never experienced anything like it.
Robert, I was just gonna tell you, I have them where I work, and I've talked to quite a number of people who've done these already, and I have not had one person tell me they've had an issue with lightning.
Right.
I know there's an electronic component to these. I agree with Sam. I say we keep
I
all
would-
the lights, send 6 in, and hold on to all of them, and don't let them dispose of them, because, yeah, I've talked to a lot of people that've done these already, and
I would have to agree.
They're not having these.
Well, the guy even told us Elgin, I mean, much bigger city, and they've had no problems.
when that happened here, I talked to the vendor who installed mine, and almost got a reaction as if, I guess it could happen.
Yeah,
I
that's,
mean, if it was a lightning strike, I would think it would went out like that, not progressively.
yeah, I think there may be, and again, it's just speculation, but I think we need to do our due diligence on there and hold somebody's feet to the fire. End
I
of the
agree.
day.
Recover some of these and see what we can do. in an
I would
investigative
try to
way.
recover.
He's gonna make good on them, he already
Yeah,
said
but
that,
what
but I'd like
happens-
to know whether or not,
What happens if
They're
the
effective.
additional ones that haven't gone out yet go
Well,
out
if we find that there
later
was a
on?
defect in the 6
Yeah.
we send out,
Yeah,
then we look at the rest, but I say hold on to all of them.
yeah.
and that may be a better idea. I'm not sure if he's gotta turn them in to get one, I'm not, and that's something you need to deal with, but that would be my guess, that,
Keep them.
Right, we're.
Yeah, I wouldn't wanna fork
Working
them
with
all
him.
over.
okay. Second thing, we need to call V3. I was under the impression that early August, we'd be ready to do bids for dirt. We just keep pushing this thing on and on and on and on and on, and I'm the most unhappiest guy that's sitting up here tonight because of these type of things. We seem to be always pushing things to the curb. This project's been out there for quite some time, and somebody needs to get off their you-know-what. This should be bid already. I don't know what they're diddling with. They know how much dirt has to come out of there. Bid the thing. Let's get moving. We had an event the other night that I was up till 3 in the morning at the pump station like an idiot, sweating that we were gonna have something go over that I would have to answer again. Why is this happening to Westchester and you're not doing anything? I'm tired of conveying that message. So somebody better get off their rear end and do something, or they will be replaced by somebody else. We're taking dirt somewhere. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do that. We all could grab a little spoon today and last year, a year ago, and been done with it already. So get a hold of Greg and say, I want it bid out now. I don't care what other projects they have in the hopper. Ours is a priority, period. So convey that before I do. Secondly, I'm told one of the sump pumps has been out at the pump station for quite some time. News to me, probably news to you. That needs to get fixed like yesterday. We were all informed of it last week when we had the event. I'm surprised that nobody's pulling it out of the hole and having it repaired already. Apparently we haven't. Preventive maintenance, that's something that we are so inadequate here that it's mind-boggling. That oil changes of equipment, somebody coming out to take a look at the pumps. I don't want to be standing there with my thumb someplace with everything has failed because, oh, no one's taken a look at it in the last year. We've had 2 nasty events, probably 4 sub-nasty events out there at different times with rain, where it's curb to curb and everybody's sweating, and I want to make sure all those pumps are working,
Right.
period.
Now, I don't want to take away from your passion, because I think it's rightly placed. However, I just want to remind you that the sump pump doesn't move the water out for conveyance. The sump pump merely does the small amount of dewatering after the large pumps work.
Right,
So,
you know what,
I
it's
want
like having
everyone to know
a
that
exit
this is
light
just-
with the light burned out.
yeah.
When are we gonna fix it? next week, 5 weeks, or 10 weeks, or when the power goes out, all of a sudden there's no exit light. And I gotta write the letter to IDOL on why the light is out. Okay? Just get it fixed. End of story. I probably could go on, but I think you get the tenor of my frustration with this place. Okay, if that's it, if I think of something, I'll let you know. Melissa, you're up.
Good evening. Just wanted to let everybody know that I sent about 30 letters to businesses regarding handicap signage. Basically, if they didn't have correct signage or the correct pavement markings, they got a letter from me with 30 days to either get the signs up or provide the proper markings. We also ordered the fine, in case someone had, say they didn't have the word fine on their handicap signs, or if they didn't have the amount up, or they had an incorrect amount, we ordered stickers with the words fine and the words amount, and those should be in this weekend. And the police department has offered to install those signs where the amounts are incorrect. So those things are in the process, and so that'll leave about 45 businesses that don't have handicap parking at all. And so probably at the next board meeting on the cow, I'll bring something to the board looking at those locations and trying to get some direction on how you want me to move forward with those businesses, at what point we want to require them to provide the parking. The other thing, we received an application for the floodproofing assistance program, and it was someone who, they applied for their permits. They've already applied for the permit, they've already done the work. They applied for the permit before the beginning of this fiscal year, so I had no funding at that time that they came in and applied, but all the work was done during this fiscal year. They've asked if they could be part of the program, if they could get reimbursed. I'm told by our plumbing inspector that the work would comply with the program, and basically they saw the article. We ran the article informing residents that the program was available. They saw it in the newsletter, and so after they saw that article, they decided to come in and apply. Technically, under the requirements of the program, I can't allow them to be part of the program. I just wanted to ask the board if they had any feelings, whether they would want to allow this person to come into the program. The work was done during this fiscal year. It was just completed this last month. And so I just wanted to get some feedback.
Let me ask you a question. We had how much money last year to give out? Last
30,000.
fiscal year, how much?
30,000 last fiscal year
30.
and 45 this.
So we gave all that out, and this person applied, and because we didn't have the funds, was the next in line? Is that accurate?
He never
With-
applied. I only heard of this guy like last week. So he submitted a letter.
I
Addressed
thought
to-
you said that there wasn't the funds, so he couldn't.
We would have
Do it.
never told him about the program because
You know,
didn't
because
have
what
any
I'm trying to say
funding
is,
in the
say
program.
we had 5 people do it, and this guy was the 6th, that we didn't have the funds to do it, and they did it anyway, and then they're coming to us. Then I could honestly say, okay, you know, why should the guy get flooding again if they're taking the steps and it's proper, it's just that we didn't have
Or
funding.
Melissa, he decided to do this before we made the program re-available again this year, is what you're saying. So, once we made it re-available, he had already done it.
No,
So-
he
he hadn't
applied
done
for
it.
it,
He
he
had
didn't do
applied
it.
for it. We
He-
issued the permit at the end of April, but the work wasn't completed until July.
But
At
at the
the end
time you issued the permit, we
There
did
was
not
no money
have
for funds.
funds ready
Funds available.
for the program. Now we have them ready.
Oh,
Correct.
So, yeah, I don't, yeah, it's,
And
I
That's
don't
what
have
I'm
a
saying, I
problem
mean.
with it.
we had just had an article in the July newsletter reminding people about the program. I think he saw that and said, oh, gosh, you know, came
But
in
at,
and.
but as
Yes.
initial startup, we did not have that available
No.
yet. So now it's available.
That's what I'm saying, he would be the
Yeah.
first
He
in
would be the
line.
first in line,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's
So-
what I was
Yeah.
saying.
I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah, give it to him, right?
Yeah.
I would think that he's done the necessary steps.
Yeah, I mean, he did everything
Well,
by the book, got his
Andy
permits
said
and
he
all that.
qualifies.
Yeah,
I think Andy said that everything was done.
it's a qualifying project.
Um, Just so that everybody knows, there were 4 businesses that opened last month. We issued 203 permits, completed 203 inspections. It was about $2.5 million in construction value. Their Chamber of Commerce is having a ribbon cutting tomorrow at Pleasant Touch Dental on Manheim Road. The village, there was a chamber breakfast here at Village Hall this morning. It was Western Mutual had hosted it. We have one more new application coming in for the facade grant for Dr. Kinnis at the Eye Center. So that'll probably be with Economic Development at their next meeting, and then subsequently will come onto the cow for you guys. We have another potential application from another business on Cermak Road, so that will probably exhaust the funding that was allotted for that program this year. And that's all that I
Just a couple of comments, reference handicap. I know Chief Padlick was dealing with that. I know the police department made a list then and nothing happened. And probably because I didn't crank about it until this week, that there's any activity as well. Tomorrow we're going to a ribbon cutting where there's 4 handicap signs that have, well, 3 of them are up, that have $50 amounts when it, to last was 100. And there's even a sign down and put reserved parking with the handicap hanging up against the wall. We talked about this in December, and now we're just playing with it in August, probably because I've expressed displeasure with the untimeliness of the way this works. So I'm glad you're getting it together. To be quite honest with you, most of the signs that are out there are in horrible shape. I changed 2 yesterday myself. So again, I'm glad it's moving, but it shouldn't have to move because I'm cranking about it. So I'm glad it's going down. Okay. Ms. Sherby, your turn.
I actually have something this evening.
Thank you.
I have 2 items. One, I wanted to let the board know that a couple of weeks ago, I attended a concert that was hosted by the Grace Central Church with Pastor Darius Brooks, along with President and Mrs. Puglia, and thought that it was very nice. The event was to raise funds to help them with the repairs needed for their roof. So we just wanted to let you know that you missed out on a very nice event. They are interested, I guess, going forward in participating in events that are being held by the village, musical events. So just want you to be aware of that. And secondly, as several of you know, I'm also a commissioner with the Proviso Township Mental Health Commission, and one of our sub-agencies, the Proviso Public Partnership, is holding their annual golf outing. I just had an item here. We're trying to get sponsorship on golf holes for a team that might want to participate. The event is being held on Thursday, August 21st, and sponsorship for the holes is only $100. So just wanted to bring that forward for consideration.
Sure, do you have a flyer, or did you email that out to everybody?
We've actually,
Do we have
got
it?
a check for them.
Oh, okay. I mean, there may be some individuals that want to sponsor some stuff as well, so we can get that out. Okay, it looks like our fire department representative is gone. I did have a couple of questions in regards to that. Maybe Janet, you know. As everyone knows, Dave McCurry is not the CEO of St. Joe's High School anymore. There's a brother who I did get a pink message to give him a call. I can't recall his name as yet. Handley? Anyway, I'll be calling him. He wants to meet and greet and talk about the life and vitality of St. Joe's. I don't know if there's any agreement in the game or what's being talked about the 10-plus acres. There's some concepts out there, but nothing's germane. What I do want to know from the fire department is, back when we got on the board in 2009, we did some changes to the fire sprinkler ordinance, and we gave St. Joseph's and maybe some other businesses some time to comply. So we need a letter to go to those individuals, whoever they are. What have they done since 2009 to try to comply? Or is this going to be another sign code that was passed in 1987 that we're still playing with in 2009, that we just keep passing the buck, or we just keep having new elections and new people keep passing it? If we're gonna stick to some time limits, there has to be, in my opinion, some type of movement toward making it whole. It seems to me that what's happening here is this board passes ordinances, we put time limits on it, and then when it gets close to the time limits, there may be a new board in the game, and then we just continue to pass the time limits on, i.e. the sign code. It was passed in 1987, and we were playing with it in 2009 and 10, and now we kicked it to 2016 for compliance. I don't know where any of that is. So everyone, and like I mentioned back then, they should be getting a yearly letter with the sign thing saying, guess what, another year down the road, I hope you're saving some money because you have to do this. I don't know where we are with St. Joe's with their fire alarm. I know prior to this board getting in the game, the prior village manager was getting pretty ready to close St. Joe's High School as a result of not having the correct protection in the game. I mean, Our Lady Angels, all you have to do is go to Queen of Heaven and see the markers there that, guess what? So if we're gonna hold somebody's feet to the fire, again, they have to show some kind of movement toward doing what they're doing, whether they're saving money or whether they're buying some parts and pieces and stockpiling them until such time as they get it done. Somebody should be showing some progression other than coming here hat in hand in 2000 and whatever it is and saying, I'm sorry, we don't have any money, or guess what? We need to push it another 4 years. That won't happen with me, I'll tell you right now.
I do want to let you know that Chief Adams did provide the correspondence he had regarding St. Joe's to me before he left on vacation. I have not had time to review it yet, but I will.
Well, I'm
do
just saying,
so.
that there may be others as well. I'm told there might be.
And there are all of the churches in town.
Okay, well, they need to get the letter, and they need to provide something, what they've been doing since, you know, if they knew about the agreement, did they sign on to the agreement? Were they aware of the agreement? Because you're gonna have administration changes, you have now a new pastor, or a new father at Divine Providence, he's probably clueless. Who's telling him anything? So we need to keep up on that, and if there's some kind of time limit to it, guess what? They need to contact the village manager's office and potentially come before the board and ask for some assistance, or the board's gonna have to say, forget about it, don't let them do it. Why keep talking about it if we're never gonna have anybody do it? Why waste our time? I know there's an investigation going on. Has that information been tendered to the county in the fire realm? I know we had, Jimmy brought some documents over last week. Have they been
Yes.
turned over?
Documents have not been turned over to date. I need to pull some additional payroll information to send to them.
Okay, do we have a time on that?
I will try to do it next week.
Okay, because, again, I mentioned this to everyone here, depending on whether or not we have any potential charges, it could be 3 years or 18 months.
This is a confidential investigation at this time.
I didn't mention any names. Didn't mention any names. So, okay. I probably had something else, but I'll let it go. Right, we don't have an executive session. There's a motion and second to adjourn.
Motion.
Celeste, second. Tommy? Okay, going right in, Committee of the Whole. I'd like to call to order. Again, today's Tuesday, August 12th, 2014. Looks like it's 8:16 PM. We could dispense with the pledge. Sherby, the roll, please.
Trustee Calcagno.
Present.
Trustee Matuso is absent. Trustee Perry is absent. Trustee Rita.
Present.
Trustee Stecker.
Present.
Trustee Yorkovich.
Present.
President Bowie.
Present. We do have a quorum. Under new business, A, recommendation for approvals, Anna's Place facade grant. Melissa?
So there are 3 items on the CAL tonight under new business, and they're all recommendations from the Economic Development Committee from their last meeting. The first one is for the facade grant for Anna's Place, right here across the street. He's proposing various improvements to the exterior of the building. He has some initial quotes that say it's gonna be over $15,000. Because of the length of the building frontage that he has, he'll only be eligible for $6,250. Basically, he's going to be installing new windows, making some improvements to the entrance, tuck pointing, adding some stucco to the front, and he's going to be installing an outdoor patio seating area with about 3 tables and chairs. And so that is what he's requesting assistance with, and Economic Development Committee recommended approval unanimously. There are some pictures in the staff report that was submitted to Economic Development. So, if you have any questions?
Yes, you know, I looked through that, and what I'm not seeing is, I see some approximate dollar amounts. I mean, I think that if he's gonna go through with it, that he's gotta provide the quotes
Invoices.
from everybody who's doing work, so we can look at, you know, giving out that money. I mean, I haven't seen anything here that says the windows, there was something for,
I think the
You
only
know-
thing that he gave a quote on was,
I see something with fencing and a turn lock key or
Right.
something.
Yeah, I was gonna-
that
I was gonna ask you-
just said the
$2,000,
fencing.
so-
Did we base this just off of a quote, and then later on, they do whatever, and we don't know that they actually spent the money?
No, they have to provide,
The invoices later on, so.
Right.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just wanna
Well,
make sure.
they
that
only
the
get-
interpretation-
they don't, the way the program is set up, the way it's supposed to be set up is that they don't have to provide the quotes until after the board recommends approval. That was the sort of process that we adopted. But we can change that if you'd prefer to see the quotes up front.
Well, I just don't, I just don't wanna give out $7,500. I wanna see the money out there that he spent, because it's somewhat of a match, correct?
Oh, yeah, he has to provide it.
Right, so I think we're all in favor of the approval of the process
Right.
and the things that he's doing. I just wanna make sure that it's gonna go down before we give out any.
We don't
checks.
issue out any funds until the work is done.
And
They've
completed,
showed
right.
us invoices. We
And
know that they've
inspected
done
and
it,
everything.
inspected it and paid, and, then they get
It's a
reimbursed.
reimbursement grant.
Okay.
So he has
Okay.
to provide me paid receipts showing that he's paid his vendors, and
Okay.
then we reimburse.
Okay.
I think the question is, are we in favor of the facade grant? I know he's put a new awning up already, he's done some work
The
already.
new
that
sign,
looks-
yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it, yeah.
Where's this, does he show where he's putting this patio area?
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering if that
It's gonna be in
is,
front along Roosevelt Road.
Is that allowed with the sidewalk and stuff? With
they're
our
gonna have
codes?
to go before zoning or
Which
something.
is allowed outdoor seating. That was
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the text
But,
amendments that
yeah,
was
right.
like
Space is
a
not-
What I'm
month
saying
ago.
is,
available.
with the space of the sidewalk and the Roosevelt Road.
We'll make sure when he comes in with his,
I understand we allowed it, yeah, but I just wanna make sure nobody's walking on Roosevelt Road now to walk past the building.
he has to provide a site plan that shows where the where the fencing is gonna go and how the seating is gonna be set up, and then at that time, we'll review and make sure that there's enough distance.
I'm sure what he's looking to do is that if it almost looks like there's 2 squares up front there, that he's probably gonna take up to that first crack.
Right.
And leave that other sidewalk, which is probably 10 feet,
Or if you-
probably
Mhm.
take 5 feet of that and put a little.
Right. I
put a
just
little
wanted to make sure
double
that,
seats there.
yeah.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, you know, when you're walking in the street. I'm sure Mr. Manzo knows that as well. So we're gonna put it on the next agenda for approval, and then, obviously, you're gonna convey the wishes of the board to him as far as how to get the reimbursement. Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Next one is Christos.
So there's the next facade grant application. They are truly embracing the idea of the facade improvement. They're going to be they're going to be taking down the existing awnings. They're going to be installing these arched treatments above the windows, and then they're going to have these Greek columns that are going to go across the front. They're going to completely transform the front of the building. It's going to look completely different. Right now, it's got red brick. It's got some there's like 2 colors of awnings on it. So he'll really tie that whole facade together. So I think it'll be an improvement. He would qualify for the full $7,500 based on how wide his storefront is. We know the cost of construction on this particular job because we came to find out about it is he had applied for a building permit, and so we kind of stopped that process and had him come in and apply for the grant because all the work that he was proposing would qualify. So
Okay, so you're in favor of this, and it's the same as Michael's. Any hiccups with this, guys? No. Okay. Item number C, wayfinding signs quotes.
So I think everybody knows the Economic Development Committee has been looking at wayfinding signs. They've been looking at them for a while. We had gotten a couple quotes on signs, but only 2 companies had indicated that they were able to apply for permitting through IDOT. You know, I didn't feel like I had the expertise to be able to go navigate through that process. So I'm asking the sign fabricators and installers to do that. Two companies said that they could do it. It was Western Remac and Signco. You can see the 2 amounts for the sign, for the cost for the installation of the signs. Economic Development Committee had recommended that Western Remac be chosen because they're the lower bidder and because Christopher Burke had recommended them as well. The quote came in higher than what was budgeted. Last year, the village board budgeted, or for this fiscal year, we budgeted $10,000 for the signs. And then also, that was carried forward from last fiscal year, and then there was an additional $1,000 that was put aside for historical marker signs. And so, staff recommended to the EDC that the 2 signs at 31st and Wolf, they'd be numbers 6 and 7 in that first table, be removed from this fiscal year and hold off until next fiscal year if you're amenable to giving us more funds towards this project. But that would bring us close to being within budget, and then if we didn't do the historical marker sign, then we would be about $900 to $1,000 over our budget. And so I thought we could try to figure out where that difference would come from out of the hotel motel fund. So the EDC recommended that signs 3, which was Manheim Road and Cermak Road at the northwest corner, and also sign 6, which is Wolf Road, the northwest corner, Wolf and 31st, the northwest corner, and the historic marker sign be held off until next fiscal year if the village board is willing to give us more funds. Staff still recommends that the 2 signs at 31st and Wolf be held off until next fiscal year. And in addition, if you hold off on sign number 3, the one at Manheim and Cermak, and the historic signs, then we would be under $11,000 if you went with Western Remac. And so we would be under the allotment for signs for this fiscal year. And if you were willing to allocate funds for next year, an additional $8,638 would need to be allocated in fiscal 15-16. So.
Okay, so your recommendation is to pull 3, 7, and 8 at this point in time and go ahead with 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. which would put it in budget, is that correct?
3, 6, 7, and 8.
You're pulling 3, 6, 7, and 8?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be staff's recommendation.
3, 6, 7, and 8. So 1, 2, 4, and 5 locations. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we talked about this for a number of years. My opinion is we need to move on it. The EDC has been working very hard with this. And as we get to our budget process, which is gonna start in a couple months, we'll see what funds are available to accommodate some of these other requests.
Yeah, they're nice.
Very nice.
Anybody disagree?
As an option, we could do a budgetary amendment if the board chose to have all the signs done this year.
I prefer to wait.
Yeah, I say wait.
At least we'll get the ball rolling, and the signs are very nice. They've done a nice job of picking these out. I've seen them in the village of Berkeley, I've seen them in Elmhurst, I've seen them in other communities that look very nice. Will be a nice identifier. Okay. Under old business 5, clarification driveway approach municipal code.
So everybody's favorite topic, I'm sure, is approaches. And we had an issue come up a couple weeks ago where we found that there are some driveways and approaches, and even a sidewalk in this particular instance, that have been constructed of brick and brick pavers. And so technically our code doesn't allow that as a material. As staff, I don't have an issue with it, but I wanted to get some feedback from the village board on whether we're okay with that as a material, specifically in the approach. If we're willing to allow it, we just did the amendment to only allow asphalt or concrete as a material in the approach. So I didn't know how the board felt about that. And if you do want to allow brick pavers, then should there be some sort of license agreement or some other mechanism for, say, if we're doing work for the street program or have to do other repairs in the right-of-way, that the homeowner then takes responsibility for the replacement of the approach?
Yeah, we had a situation when we were doing Oxford Street where there was brick pavers at a house on Oxford at Buckingham. And it was quite possible that we would have had to pull up half of his driveway, and it would have had a different pitch than it was designed. However, we got lucky in as much as the contractor was able to meet it and only pull up 2 courses, which minimal repair. The question comes in is, in the future, I mean, if we have a water main break and we're ripping up somebody's pavers, I mean, we're gonna have to put it back. But going forward, if we want to allow brick pavers in there, then the code needs to say so. This is the similar thing that we had with the asphalt and concrete where
I'm
it
of
was
the mind,
willy-nilly.
concrete for everybody. And, you know, from the sidewalk back, you know, to the street.
Should always be concrete.
Should always be concrete.
Okay.
My neighbor right around the corner just had their whole apron there pulled up for a water main repair.
Well,
You
I
know,
think they should have the option to repair it themselves then, replace the pavers themselves. I mean,
They-
who wants to?
They fixed the water main next door to me twice, and they had to put the outriggers or the wheel of the tractor on my apron. No damage to my apron, but now if you've got pavers, you know, and that happens quite often if you're digging in the parkway, you gotta use somebody else's, and it wasn't even your water, it wasn't even in front of your house, but unfortunately, you know, you got,
I mean, that's why we're talking about it, because we had a situation and there was no clear direction for staff. We made I guess we lucked out in as much.
but we could,
Because it is
could have went the other
possible,
way.
we could have had to pull up all the pavers. I mean, the guy has a nice slant to it, and I know this board has talked about when we do concrete, we're going all the way up to the sidewalk to avoid a half concrete where you're gonna have 2
Right.
different levels that really looks hokey in my opinion, that you could have had this with the pavers as well. So, there's a suggestion about having some license agreement or some kind of agreement that would be binding on that owner or the owner that purchases the house in the future, that,
if you think about it, if we're gonna rip it up for a water main, then are we doing, cause us to pull these bricks up by hand then? And put them off to the side?
we did it out in front for the little sidewalk when we had our water main break out in front. So,
Or the agreement states that the homeowner's responsible, if they decide to put that back, and we would only cover up to the cost of what it would have cost to
Right.
replace the concrete.
Right.
But we're not gonna sit there and incur extra cost for our people to sit here and pull bricks out and try to save them so that somebody can come and put them back. We're gonna go in with a backhoe, move what we have to move. Is that gonna be?
Well, when they replaced my street, I had blacktop, so my apron was blacktop, and they were gonna do half of it in cement. I'm like, seriously, so I'm gonna have a half black, half.
Yeah, but we've addressed that issue already.
Okay, but what I'm saying is they gave me the option to pay for the difference to do the cement.
you
So we're
should've
not-
waited
we're not-
until this board got in the
Yeah, I
game. We
know,
would've
Yeah.
done it
but
all.
whatever.
But we're not
It's
talking about that, we're
beautiful,
talking
it's
about paver bricks that we may have to preserve the integrity
Right,
of
that's what I'm saying, is
when we're
give them the
digging, which is
option.
gonna cost us more.
If it's gonna cost us more, the cost is on you. Give them the option.
That's just gonna be some extra language in there that we're not gonna sit here and take brick by brick up so that, we don't destroy your bricks. They're gonna come up, you're gonna end up having a,
The way it is now, theoretically, on the Oxford operation, we should have taken up every one of his bricks and redid it in concrete. That's what our ordinance basically said. However, obviously, that was creating some angst. I'm not sure it was even proffered out there as an option. And the contractor was able to save it. That's a lucky one. We may not have that luck in the future.
I don't have an issue with putting some kind of addendum to the rule that says, okay, you can do it in paver brick, but in the case that the village needs to do anything, we are not going to, go through all that extra added cost of trying to preserve your bricks. We're gonna do what we have to do.
Yeah, if there's exigent circumstances.
We're
where
gonna,
you
we're
have to
gonna
have a water main
reimburse
break.
you, if you decide to do the paver bricks, we'll reimburse you the cost of what a contractor would have charged you to replace the concrete.
Mhm.
Or
The rest
in-house.
is on you,
Because I don't wanna see our guys in the middle of winter pulling it up one by one and putting it off to the side when it's 40.
I'm sure they would be piling.
Well, I understand that, but I don't wanna, I would rather have it something in writing saying, okay, this is gonna happen, we're gonna access it, and you may lose half
Right,
your
we're-
bricks.
We're not responsible for how they get removed, and it's an emergency. We're not gonna wait for you to come out as a homeowner and start pulling your bricks off the driveway. We've gotta get to the water main. We've gotta fix it now, and,
What's the pleasure?
so, that's fine, as long as we write something that,
I agree with Angela.
dictates the,
let's do this.
the,
Let's think about it. Let's see if we could come up with some language. We can't be the only community that's run into this. Maybe there's other ones that have some solutions, and the solution might be, sorry, Charlie, it's all concrete, have a nice day. If you want your bricks, they're in a pile, go collect them. I don't know.
I think
we
one of
do
the
have
ideas
some.
behind doing it in concrete was not only, I thought there was, so we can have some uniformity throughout the village.
Yeah,
And that's true.
yeah.
So if that's the wishes, then anybody that comes in that wants to do brick pavers, they're gonna be able to do from their side of the
Sidewalk.
sidewalk to the back of their house, but the apron is gonna be in concrete if we replace it. If they wanna replace it, they have to also do it in concrete. So those are the two issues that are out there. So let's think about it. I don't think we need to make a decision right this minute, but we'll put it back on the agenda and we'll come up with something. Sound like a plan?
Okay.
Tommy, you were gonna say something?
No, I'm good. Never mind.
We have a few items for information.
Information, go ahead.
Shall I go?
Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about a couple of things tonight. Back in June, Chief Carpino had the board approve the purchase of 3 squads and the installation of the equipment to outfit the squads. Just this week, we had PNC approve us for the financing. At the time when we approved the vehicles, we didn't approve the financing, so tonight I just wanted to talk about what we are financing. So there will be a total of $72,200 for the 3 squads. That includes the $10,000 trade-in. And then to outfit the squads, that total comes to $31,692 for a grand total of $95,076. We also received a great rate from PNC at 1.71 for financing. So at the next
That's
board
huge.
meeting, then we can go ahead and approve that. Then also tonight, I wanted to talk about, from the auditors, we have some budget amendments that I'm going to be requesting at the next meeting. But before I get into that, I want to preference that in a year that we had actually budgeted a deficit in our general fund, it looks like we are potentially going to be dropping $500,000 to our bottom line. So that's fantastic in a year that we had a potential deficit planned. So our revenues have come in very favorably for us. But as I'm sure everyone knows, it was a brutal year as far as the winter. We had some unexpected, well, more snow than we thought, and we had to order some emergency salt to continue to keep the streets clean for the residents. So I will be proposing an amendment to the budget to cover the salt expense. Also, in the general fund, there's a few things that we have to amend the budget with. When we finance and purchase things, we have to show it as an expense, and then we do make an offsetting entry once the revenue is received. So we will be doing some adjustments there, and it's going to be covering such things as like in the 911 fund, the purchase of the microwave equipment, some other items that were financed throughout the year. Also, I wanted to note in the general fund, we had made an additional pension contribution. We had some additional expenses for BNF with Follett and Mariano's coming through. So we're just going to be adjusting a few things, but again, we are showing a favorable balance to the general fund.
Most of the budget amendment that'll be proposed, the expenditures will be increasing, however, they will be offset by revenues that had been received to offset it. As Maureen said, the largest entry you're going to see is in the general fund alone. We financed approximately $1.2 million in capital equipment and software last year. So that when we did that, we had anticipated waiting till the end of the year and make one budget amendment to cover everything that we had done. So we'll be increasing our capital outlay expenditures and offsetting it by, say, other financing sources, which is the proceeds from the installment loans. So when you see the budget amendment, it'll primarily be increasing our anticipated revenues and also increasing our expenditures. And it's a housekeeping matter since the way that we budget under governmental accounting, and we are at the fund level. So to get our expenditures back in line with what we budgeted for compliance reasons.
But on the same token, with, Follett's was, I'm gonna say an exception, because we didn't know it was coming in the game. I mean, they paid several $100,000 that we didn't think we weren't gonna get if they
Right.
hadn't come in.
Right.
And although we've lost some revenue from the sales tax and Dominic's, I think that there's an offset in permit fees from
Absolutely.
Regency, correct?
Absolutely.
So, again, you probably have, I'm guessing $300,000+ in that type of revenue, and the only thing that we lost was $160 for Dominic's, or whatever that amount is. So we should have showed a positive. What I would suggest is that we put something on paper of all of our debts, and then the debt service, whether they're itemized one by one, or otherwise, to see what our payments are. Because, I mean, just in conversations that Janet and I have, I mean, we're just making, I think, this December is gonna be our first payment, correct me if I'm wrong, on the bond sale. And I know, and I thought it was gonna come out at this meeting, because we kinda talked a little bit about it, of whether or not, you know, we left, I think it was $4 million on the table with the last bond letting. And if we're planning to continue to repair the streets and do what we're doing, guess what? I think that well is gonna dry up after we do maybe 1 or 2 streets next year. So we better be somewhat proactive if the board wants to.
And with the,
And say, guess what? We may have to go to bond out that other $4 million. Obviously, there's debt gonna be piggybacked with what else we're paying as well. Or guess what? Or we're not gonna have a street program next year, or we're gonna do 1 street and pretty much that's it. I mean, I know that well is running a little bit dry. MFT funds are committed, 50% for the first bond issuance that we had. And then, and I don't know if we've made 1 or 2 payments with that, maybe more. But it's not something that you could refinance. I wish we could at the 1.9 level,
Yeah.
or 1.7 level, but I understand that those are Build America bonds and that can't be done, so.
Right. Robert has met with his staff, and they're beginning to accumulate a list of the most critical projects for next year. And we were, once we have that list, we are going to come to the board in the next meeting or two to discuss whether or not to go after the bonds. We actually have $2.2 million left from our original bond authorization that we could access.
I'm saying that's next year's
Mhm.
project,
Right.
provided that Robert put something together streetwise and,
Yeah.
I mean, other infrastructure things, I'm sure, dollar to a donut, that these projects that, the sanitary line, which I guess I gotta swallow it, is gonna start next year, and not this year, which of course I wish it would. And, you know, and we still have to look at some commentary on how to get the water from Sunnyside into the creek, which, of course, I want another pipe, but that's phase 3 or phase 4. I think planning is always phase 1, to try to do that, or are we gonna do some kind of lift station, pump, something or other, to get it in the creek where it belongs. So there's a lot of things out there.
Is it possible prior to our next budget discussions for the next fiscal year that we can get a list of the expenditures that we did not budget for or that we went over, you know, so we have some sort of idea what we did this year, you know, that wasn't budgeted? Because there was quite a few things, if I remember right, that, you know, kept coming up. You know, kind of give us an idea where we sit with those type of expenditures.
Well, again,
You
in
know,
this
so we
audit
know.
report, and I'm by no means an auditor or whatever, is that going to spell anything out of what our fund balances are and
Oh,
where the
absolutely.
expenses
Right.
are? And when do you think that that's gonna come? September, October? When would that audit thing come?
September, late September.
So I guess my question is what Angelo's looking for, would that be outlined in that audit report? I don't want you to
I
have to
don't know if it will be
recreate the wheel.
outlined to the detail that perhaps you're looking
That's more
for.
detailed where we'd have to go.
Right, that's more at
Yeah.
a discussion level than
Okay.
something like that, but it's something I can certainly work on putting together for you. And
Yeah,
I
or
just-
maybe, you know, in the future, we kind of keep track of, you know, these expenditures that weren't budgeted for or weren't, you know, I know we can do that.
There's
ourselves.
always a hiccup in Whoville.
Yeah.
So-
Well, it's just kind of nice to know, you know, when you're going through the budget process, every year from year to year, you know, there are unexpected expenditures that come up, you know, that's.
Trust me, I know. Okay, anything else?
Robert has one item.
Just wanted to report that we did open bids for the emergency generator for the Village Hall. We had 4 bidders, and we did a base bid which included a natural gas powered generator, and the alternate bid included a diesel generator. There was an $82,000 difference between the two fuel sources, with diesel being less expensive. That's difference is enough to power that generator for the next 40 years. So, at this point, I'm going to make a bid recommendation to accept the alternate bid from Genco Industries, and that'll be at the next board meeting. We wanted to have it up for the committee of the whole to discuss. I know the preference was natural gas. We had a significantly long discussion with Nicor to supply natural gas. We got 3 different opinions from them whether or not they could. 2 of them were no, 1 was yes, so I'm still really confused as to whether or not they can actually supply the volume we need at the pressure we need, and apparently they are too. So I think ultimately where it boils down for us is there's a significant cost difference, and when you look at these size generators, there really is about the same level of pollution what they burn. The diesel's there's more energy in that fuel source, so it actually produces less pollutants per volume that they burn. They both pollute when they run. But this is to be used in an emergency situation, hopefully not very often. Then the other thing is that we have some settlement issues with where we want to place the generator. With the diesel, we can place it on a pad and allow some settlement, and we can design a pad so it doesn't settle very far. With a natural gas line, there is some concern that settlement can separate that pipe, and it may be safer to go with the generators at this point. But I would entertain any kind of questions about.
And the base bid doesn't include what it would cost us to get the natural gas line.
So I'm still
Brought up.
asking after 6 weeks, I'm still waiting for a response from Nicor. They did say there's a meter change we'd have to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000–4,000 for a new meter.
Right, but there's
Then you
still a
have to
large
pipe.
cost
Yeah.
there that we wouldn't even see if we did try to do natural gas. So
Right.
the diesel is,
Yeah.
yeah, I
And I
get
think
it,
one
yeah.
of the gas lines would have to cross the
Right.
Eisenhower
So-
to get here, so.
We're recommending the diesel one or the natural gas one?
The
Diesel.
alternate
The
bid
diesel.
would be diesel, we'd recommend that.
The
For-
231.
Well, here in the bid, I'm reading it, it says Christopher Burke recommends the village award the contract for 231 for the alternate bid, which includes a new 30-watt natural gas generator. That's what I'm asking.
And then a diesel after that.
Yeah, as part of the alternate bid, we have an existing 30 kW natural gas.
Oh,
in
okay.
this building.
I understand.
It's enough to turn some lights on and open the bay doors. That's all it can do. We were going to move that to Station 1, but I thought it might be prudent to see what a brand-new one costs, and it's only a couple $1,000s more to get a brand-new one. So the alternate bid includes a brand-new natural gas generator. That would
For
have-
Station 1.
For Station 1.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
So there's a significant cost savings,
I see.
plus we're not even seeing what the cost, if we did do gas, would be to bring that up, so there's.
Right. Probably well over $100,000.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I guess I would have liked to have, and there's no fault of anybody that's sitting in this room here, but, you know, in my hiatus from being an employee here, we put a gas generator in the back of Public Works. And I can't understand why that board did not do its due diligence, where there would have been a document on file that said, we put that whatever KW generator there because it would have been so cost prohibitive to run another gas line from A to B to power this whole building. That generator only powers a certain number of things.
Right.
I think those prior boards did us a disservice. We're thinking there is enough gas and everything is fine and hunky-dory. Again, we've been playing with this since 2009 as well. And we had bids and this guy out here and our building inspector and electrical guy was telling you how much we had to do and whatever, and those things were sitting on the floor waiting for us, obviously, to get some grant money to try to do it, which we did. Then all of a sudden, somebody's saying, oh, by the way, you know, you'd like gas, but you can't have it because your building's not set up for it, you know?
I've got to respect Robert's, sounds like he's been doing his homework on more than just this project, so,
It's just sad, that's all.
yeah.
Okay, one other thing under information, and I thought I did see an email, but maybe somebody can correspond. We don't have the part-time building inspector guy. That ain't happening, I guess, at this point in time. FD was gonna get back to us. Is there interest, not interest? Are we pretty much gonna stay with B&F to the end of the year and look at this as a next budget situation, or where are we going with this?
I had sent an email to the board. We had a meeting with the IAFF union on Friday, and this topic was presented to them. They, the union representatives in that meeting were receptive to the idea, but wanted to bring it back to their membership. They will be scheduling a meeting of their membership within the next couple of weeks, and will get back to us whether they will consider that an appropriate assignment under their contract. Once they give us that go-ahead, then we will go forward, meeting with Melissa and Chief Adams to determine how we would work that out with scheduling and things like that, number of people. We do not have a training budget built in this year for that training, so we would have to accommodate that.
Do you know how much the training is?
Melissa, what are the classes for a residential building inspector, for example?
I don't remember them offhand, but I think last year we spent about $4,000 or $5,000 in the training budget.
For 2 individuals, so we would be looking probably at 4 to 6 individuals being trained.
So there's no immediate solution to this, other than right now, until the fire department commits and trains and all that stuff, is to just continue to use the service?
Right, but bear in mind that those costs are passed through to the
Right.
permit
Yeah.
holders, so it's effectively a wash on our financial
Sure.
statements.
Yeah, I know when Mike was here, he was pretty much just looking for, like, hey, poll the guys, either they're interested or not, so then at least we wouldn't be sitting here a month and a half later.
Right.
Still wondering what's going on, like, okay, I mean, if they're interested, great, well, let's get moving on it, but at
Exactly.
least poll them and see, so we know what to do.
That's
Because-
what the union reps are doing in their meeting, and
I mean, this just
But
happened Friday
he-
is my point, but whatever. And how often are the classes held too?
BNF has like I'll be honest, I haven't looked at their schedule since we already completed our training, but probably quarterly or every couple months.
Okay. Because that was the other thing, is by the time are we gonna miss?
I mean, so it's gonna be at least through the end of the year, if not longer.
Yeah,
So I'm saying, are we gonna gear up for next budget? Let's just gear up for next budget and figure out what we're doing.
yeah.
Well, I guess the members need to pony up and say, yeah, we want to do it or we don't.
Yeah,
At least give us
Well, and
a,
there- there's a commitment that
Yeah.
has to be done. We're investing financially in them. Chief Adams has concerns. He just had a registration period for the fire inspectors for 7G that expired. He has 4 original 7G fire inspectors, only 2 additional expressed interest, so that gives him a pool of 6. He does not want building inspectors that are not going to double as fire inspectors. So they're waiting to talk to the union, determine whether or not they're going to open up this registration again and go forward. So there are implications as to how the fire department is operating, how the building department is operating. It's not a simple, yeah, let's use them or not.
When
There are
the
things to
openings
consider.
came up for the 7G spot, hadn't we already discussed adding that as part of the as part of the duties?
We discussed it, but it hadn't been brought to their membership.
But,
No, what I'm saying is, when the applications came out to reapply for 7G for inspector, the board level, we had already discussed utilizing them potentially as building inspectors.
I'm not sure when the application period opened. I know it just ended on July 18th.
Okay, well,
I
it
don't
just
know.
ended on July 18th. We talked about it prior to that. So wouldn't it have made sense, given the fact that we have already been talking about this, that that would have been included in the initial conversation? I mean, it didn't have to be hashed out, but you could have included it in the application, so now we're not in the middle of August starting over.
Yes.
We're trying to decide if we're gonna start over. That's my point.
I mean, these 4 guys that are in existence have to reapply or get certified, correct?
For fire?
Yeah. Is that what you?
No, they
Oh,
opened
we
it up
just
to
opened
additional
it up
members.
for additional, okay.
Yeah, I don't know who does the inspections, but like, if he has 4 new guys, those guys are gonna have to go to fire inspector school
Right.
too. And, I mean, that's, my whole thing is how do these classes coincide with the inspector classes? Are these guys already certified and maybe he's making them reapply every year? I don't know. But it just would have made sense to maybe included that in the potential duties, so we can at least get an idea of whether or not we're gonna keep using BNF. I mean, Mike said, oh, in the meeting, it'll only take a second, just poll your guys, is this something they're interested in or not? And
But it's 3 weeks now, and
that was more,
Two other things on a similar vein. I know in the building department, we lost a part-time guy to a full-time inspector in another municipality. We looked at the requirements, and I think we were going to have our building inspector have those requirements as well. So when he's signing some certification, that he's got some background as well. Have we had any conversation with him, Melissa, regarding those? I know he's got a test coming up in October, as far as there was 7 different areas of advanced education that was on that list that the guy that went to Itasca had. And I know we wanted our building inspector to have some of those certifications as well, with the exception of the fire inspection. I know we talked about that. Have you had any conversation with?
I apologize, I didn't realize that the expectation was that he would have those same certifications. He has at least one of them. He's working towards another one of them that I believe was on that list,
Well,
which
I
is
mean,
what he'll
if-
be taking in October. I can certainly follow up with him.
I thought that's what we were doing, trying to I know the conversation that I had was that there were 7 of them out, there's actually 6, because the firemen were doing the fire one. He's already got one down, he may have another one down, that he should be working toward getting all these things. If he's signing off for these various things that other communities are requiring normally, in fact, we had a long discussion of that they, I don't know what the guy's name was, Robert, or whatever his name was, he had 6 months to get these things accomplished, or 9 months, whatever they were. You know, not that we can't give a little bit more time, but this guy was expected to do all 7 of these and have all 7 of them done in 6 months, or else he was getting on the short bus to say, see you later.
Yes, that's
So,
correct.
again, if we're having somebody sign off on something, they have to have the certifications. It's as simple as that. And then the last piece, and then I'll shut up for tonight, is I know we talked about the plumbing inspection. Has there been any conversation with the person that recently passed the test?
I
as
would like to
far as
discuss that
Jim?
in a future executive session.
I'm just saying, do we have any
Yes,
conversation?
I have had a conversation. It needs to be discussed with the board.
Okay. And then she shut me up. Okay, public participation. We're only public tonight at an interesting meeting.
I feel like
Are you running out?
no, I'm in a lot of pain in this thing.
Sorry.
Armchair for 2 hours. I do have a question. And it's really from-
You know what, if you want to come up by the mic, tell Ms. Sherby your name and stuff.
I'm quite loud, so I really don't need
Okay.
a mic.
But she needs your name and stuff for the record, though.
Okay. My question is there
Yeah.
any publication besides the newspaper for crime? And the reason I'm asking is there was an accident on Westchester Boulevard 2 weekends ago. I was out of town. And, my next door neighbors, it appears that a car hit their tree. But we have no way of finding out exactly what transpired because neither of us were in town. So I was wondering, is there a website you can go to?
Traditionally, there's no police department that's gonna report every motor vehicle crash within the municipality. It's unheard of. If there's something, we have media releases that are on our website, as well as the newspapers, whether or not they're publicized, whether or not they're on our website, they're updated weekly. So you go to Westchester Police Department, or Westchester traditional website, with the local police department, it's on our crime report. You can't possibly jot down.
Chief, if a resident calls in this case, and says, we think a car hit our tree, was there any activity
Well,
recently?
If a car hits a tree, we notify the homeowner that.
She passed away.
I'm sorry?
She's deceased. So,
On the police report, which is submitted to the state and the insurance companies, if it's a village tree, then we'll go to the village has to report the tree. Sometimes it's people who don't have insurance, sometimes the insurance doesn't want to pay, these things get a lot of memory value. Some people, the insurance companies, so depending on what you need to know, you could call us and we could share some information. Some of it's confidential, we can't release it, some of it's going to be collected out of report, so I don't know specifically.
well, I was just wondering, is there anything?
This was a blowout, the tire blew, and
I mean, if you have any specific questions.
that's pretty much what happened, just to answer your question.
And then, I'm on vacation this week, that's why I'm here, and I've been driving to other parts of Westchester and walking my dog. Which, it's kind of sad that all the I understand that dogs aren't allowed inside the parks, but anyway, I just wanted to say that at Mayfair, I was walking on I can't even think of what, I was by Lancaster, and there must have been another vehicle accident by a big boulder right by the park, and there's a license plate actually in the debris. And,
That was cleaned up today.
oh, perfect, it had been this afternoon, because I just walked past it this morning.
Yeah, it was cleaned up this morning.
Perfect, I just didn't, I was concerned because it's a license plate. Of course, you guys are awesome, so
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it.
Unfortunately, believe it or not, over 40 years of my career, I've never seen one person come to a police station and pick up a license plate. I'm serious, not one person ever came to the police. And they'd rather go get a replacement plate and go to Secretary of State's office or currency exchange than to drive to the police station to pick up their own license. Believe it or not, that's my story I'm thinking. 40 years, no one ever came to the police station to pick up the license plate. Well, we told them we had. See him drive around with a little R on it, it's a replacement plate, they'd rather spend $8 and go to the currency exchange and come see us than wait for a couple of years.
I've had better experience than you then.
No. We collect them, we have to the police station, we have full free of license plates.
Well, I'm sure you now have
We'll have
one.
No,
Yeah, I think it was turned into you guys today, too.
Well, I'm sure. We'll be destroying it in a couple of years.
And a lot of times if it's local, the officers may drive there and get a sign off on it and give it back. So,
Now, if you have specific questions, just call the police department, chief, anything within the village, if it's not on the website or on crime or harassment, just specific questions.
Thank you.
and thank you for coming and being entertained this evening.
Staying the whole time, yeah.
Yeah.
At least my dog is not there. Oh, he's all right.
Thank you. Is there anything else? If not, is there a motion
So
second to
moved.
adjourn?
Second.
Nick, who's the second?
I'll go.
Celeste or
Doesn't matter.
It don't matter.
Tommy?
Sure.
All those in favor of adjourning, say